I never thought I'd be sleeping in my pickup truck at 73 years old. Not after 42 years of marriage. Not after building half the houses in East Austin with my own two hands. But there I was on a cold February morning, waking up in a Walmart parking lot with my back screaming and my pride somewhere down around my boots. My name is Harold Davis, and this is how I went from homeless to millionaire in 4 months. The divorce papers hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. Margaret, my wife of 42 years, had been planning this for months, while I was still bringing her coffee every morning and asking about her day. She handed me those papers on a Tuesday right after I'd finished fixing the kitchen faucet she'd been complaining about for weeks. "Harold," she said, not even looking up from her magazine. "We're done. I filed yesterday. I just stood there holding my wrench, trying to process what she'd said." "Maggie? What are you talking about?" "I'm talking about the fact that I'm 70 years old and I'm tired of being married to a broken-down construction worker who can barely pay the bills anymore." That stung worse than a nail through the thumb. Yeah, work had been slow since my back surgery, but I'd provided for that woman for 4 decades. Built our house with my own hands, every beam and board placed with care. Put food on the table through recessions, oil busts, everything Texas could throw at us. I'd worked 12-hour days in the blazing sun so she could have her air conditioning and her monthly trips to the beauty salon. "Where am I supposed to go?" I asked. She actually laughed. Not a happy laugh, but something cold and mean that I'd never heard from her before. "Harold, nobody needs an old man like you. Figure it out." The house was in her name, had been since we bought it in 1985, back when I trusted her to handle the paperwork while I handled the building. She was good with numbers, I told myself. Better at dealing with banks and lawyers than a guy who worked with his hands. My lawyer, well, the public defender they assigned me since I couldn't afford better, told me I'd get almost nothing. Margaret had been smart about it, moving money around for months before she filed. "She's been planning this for a while," he said, not meeting my eyes. "Your wife covered her tracks well." By March, I was living in my 2018 Ford F-150, the only thing the divorce left me with besides my tools and about $800 in cash. The truck was paid for. Thank God I'd insisted on that when I bought it. Always believed in owning what you drive. I'd park at different Walmarts around Austin, use the gym at the Y for showers when I could scrape together the day fee, eat dollar menu items when I could afford them. The worst part wasn't the sleeping rough or the March cold that cut through the truck's cab or even the hunger that gnawed at my belly most days. It was the looks. You know the ones, when people see an old man climbing out of his truck in the morning unfolding himself like a broken lawn chair, trying to work the kinks out of his back. Like you're something that should be swept away before the decent folks have to see you. I heard through mutual friends that Margaret was telling people I'd let myself go and that she deserved better after all these years of sacrifice. The sacrifice part made me laugh, if you could call it that. What sacrifice? I'd done the sacrificing. I'd worked myself into the ground, building other people's dreams while she spent the money. She'd moved some guy named Gary into our house. My house, the one I built with these hands, within 3 weeks of the divorce being final. Gary was younger, maybe 60, drove a shiny Cadillac and wore polo shirts with little alligators on them. Everything I wasn't, apparently. But I'm a Vietnam vet, and we don't stay down long. They tried to break us in the jungle, and when that didn't work, they tried to break us when we came home. I'd survived worse than sleeping in a truck. I found day labor work when I could, mostly loading trucks and moving furniture for people who had what I'd lost. The young guys felt sorry for me, which was almost worse than Margaret's cruelty, almost. "Hey, old-timer," one kid said. "Maybe 25 with arms like tree trunks. You don't need to lift that. I got it." I appreciated the kindness, but it cut deep. I wasn't ready to be someone people felt sorry for. It was on a Wednesday morning in late March, gray skies and the smell of rain coming off the hill country, when everything changed. I was sitting in my truck outside a McDonald's, nursing a small coffee I'd made last 30 minutes, checking the want ads in the Austin American-Statesman even though I knew there wasn't much call for 73-year-old carpenters. That's when a man in a suit knocked on my window. "Mr. Davis?" "Harold Davis." I rolled down the window. He was maybe 50, clean-cut, carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than I'd made in the last month. "Yeah, that's me. You a repo man?" He smiled, which surprised me. Repo men don't usually smile. "No, sir. I'm Benjamin Foster, an estate attorney from Houston. I've been looking for you." I laughed, but there wasn't much humor in it. "Well, you found me. What's left of me, anyway, Mr. Davis? I have some unusual news. Your first wife, Rebecca Davis, passed away last month. The newspaper fell out of my hands. I stared at him like he'd just told me the sky was green. Mr. Rebecca died in 1973. Cancer. I buried her myself at the Austin Memorial Gardens. He shook his head slowly, and something in his expression made my chest tight. No, sir, Rebecca Davis survived. She left Austin in 1973 under circumstances I'll explain, but she passed away on January 15th of this year in Portland, Oregon. She left an estate valued at approximately $12 million. The coffee cup fell out of my other hand, splashing cold coffee across my work boots. And you, Mr. Davis, are named as the primary beneficiary. I don't remember much of the next few minutes. Foster kept talking about documentation and probate courts and conditions, but all I could hear was my heart hammering in my chest like it was trying to break free. Rebecca, my Rebecca, who used to make me scrambled eggs with cheese every Sunday morning. Who'd kiss my forehead when I left for my construction job at 6 a.m., her hair still messy from sleep. There is one condition, Foster was saying, pulling me back to the present. Because Rebecca legally died without a death certificate being issued, and because of the legal complexities of her disappearance, you'll need to prove your identity as her husband and participate in a probate hearing in Portland within 60 days. Why did she leave? I managed to ask through the fog in my head. Foster's expression softened, and for a moment he looked less like a lawyer and more like someone's concerned uncle. She was diagnosed with cancer in 1973, as you know, but she survived the treatment. She was young, scared, and thought the medical bills would destroy you financially. She left rather than burden you with debt she believed would ruin your future. The irony hit me like a 2x4 to the skull. Rebecca had protected me by disappearing. For 50 years, I'd grieved a woman who'd sacrificed her life with me to save me from bankruptcy. She'd carried that burden alone, built a new life in Oregon, made herself wealthy, and never reached out because she thought she was doing the right thing. And now she was gone for real, leaving me everything she'd built in those 5 decades of silence. Mr. Davis, are you all right? Foster asked. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. Hadn't cried in years, not since my buddy Tommy Morrison died of Agent Orange complications. I'm fine. What do I need to do? Foster explained the process while I tried to wrap my head around it all. The estate would cover travel costs, legal fees, reasonable expenses. He'd arrange a flight to Portland, hotel accommodations, local representation. All I needed to do was gather whatever original documents I still had from my marriage to Rebecca. Do you have your marriage certificate? He asked. I nodded toward the truck. Got a shoebox in the back with all her stuff. Marriage certificate, some photos, letters she wrote me when I was doing a job up in Dallas before we got married. Kept it all these years. That evening, I called my daughter Patricia from a payphone outside a Texaco station. She cried when I told her about Rebecca, about the inheritance, about everything. Not happy tears at first, angry ones that made her voice shake. Dad, you've been living in your truck for 2 months and you didn't call me? Honey, you've got your own problems with the divorce and the kids. I didn't want to be another burden. You're my father, she said, and I could hear her blowing her nose. You're never a burden. Never. Patricia lived in San Antonio with her 2 teenagers after her own messy divorce 3 years back. She worked 2 jobs, day shift at a medical supply company and weekend shifts at Target, just to keep their heads above water. I'd helped when I could before Margaret cleaned me out, but there hadn't been much to help with. The flight to Portland was my first time on a plane in 15 years. Foster had arranged everything down to the last detail. The hotel room was clean and warm, with a bed that didn't have springs poking through and a shower with water pressure that actually worked. I stood under that shower for 20 minutes, just because I could. The probate attorney was a sharp woman named Timothy Carter. Mid-40s, all business, with the kind of confidence that comes from winning more cases than you lose. She went through the documents I'd brought in my shoebox, my marriage certificate from 1970, some old photos of Rebecca and me at Lake Travis, letters she'd written me during our brief courtship. These are excellent, Carter said, examining the marriage certificate with a magnifying glass. Original seal, proper signatures, dated correctly. The handwriting samples will be particularly useful. The hearing is scheduled for 3 weeks from now, she continued, making notes in a legal pad. But Mr. Davis, there's something you should know. Rebecca had a daughter from a relationship in the 1980s. Her name is Sandra Coleman. She's 51, lives in Seattle, and she was not named in the will. My stomach dropped. Has she been notified? She has. About 2 weeks ago. That gave Sandra Coleman 2 weeks to plan whatever she was planning. I wasn't paranoid by nature, but 20 years in construction and a tour in Vietnam teach you to watch for trouble before it comes knocking on your door. You learn to read the signs, feel the shift in the wind. "What's her story?" I asked. Carter flipped through a file. Rebecca never married Sandra's father, raised her as a single mother through the 1980s and 90s. Sandra lived with Rebecca until about 5 years ago, helped care for her during her final illness. By all accounts, she expected to inherit the estate. But Rebecca left it all to me instead. Every penny. The will is very specific, very clear. There's also a sealed letter Rebecca left for you, to be delivered after the probate is settled. A letter from Rebecca. After all these years, she'd had something to say to me. The thought made my chest tight again. The call came 3 days later while I was having breakfast at a diner near the hotel. The waitress, a kind woman about Patricia's age, had taken to making sure my coffee stayed full without my asking. The voice on my phone was controlled but with an edge underneath, like a wire pulled too tight. "Is this Harold Davis?" "Speaking, my name is Sandra Coleman. I think we need to talk. We met at a coffee shop downtown called Pioneer Square Roasters." Sandra chose the location, said it was neutral ground. I arrived 10 minutes early because that's what you do when you're walking into unknown territory. Found a table where I could see the entrance and both exits, ordered black coffee, and waited. Sandra walked in exactly on time. Tall, angular, with Rebecca's green eyes, but none of her warmth. She moved like someone used to getting her way, scanning the room until she spotted me. She had a younger man with her, maybe 35, who didn't introduce himself but positioned himself where he could watch the room. Professional habits, I recognized them. "Mr. Davis," she said, extending her hand. Firm grip, direct eye contact. "Thank you for meeting with me. Call me Harold," I said, gesturing to the chair across from me. "Coffee. I'm fine." She settled into her seat like she was preparing for a business negotiation, which I supposed she was. "I'll get straight to the point. You were married to my mother for 3 years, 50 years ago. I lived with her for 30 years. Took care of her when she got sick, managed her affairs when she couldn't." "That must have been hard," I said carefully. The unnamed man had moved to a table nearby, close enough to intervene if needed. "She was everything to me," Sandra continued, her voice tight with control. "My mother worked herself to the bone building that timber business. Started with nothing after she left Texas. Worked 16-hour days, made smart investments, sacrificed everything for financial security." I kept my hand steady on my coffee cup. Rebecca had built something impressive, apparently. Good for her. She always was smarter than me about money matters. "She left me nothing," Sandra said. And there it was. The wire snapping. Nothing. Not the house, not the business, not the accounts. Everything goes to you. A man she hadn't seen in half a century. "I didn't know she was alive," I said quietly. "That's convenient." Her eyes were cold now, calculating. 50 years of silence. And then suddenly, "You're the beneficiary of $12 million. The accusation hung in the air between us. She thought I'd been in contact with Rebecca, thought I'd somehow influenced her. The idea would have been funny if it wasn't so insulting." "Sandra," I said, keeping my voice level, "I buried your mother in 1973. Stood at her graveside and threw dirt on a coffin I thought contained her body. I grieved her for 5 decades. If I'd known she was alive, I'd have moved heaven and earth to find her." Something flickered in her expression, but she pushed on. "I think you should consider a settlement. 4 million to me, 8 million to you. Before this becomes something difficult for everyone." "What kind of difficult?" I asked. The man at the nearby table shifted slightly. Sandra noticed and gave him an almost imperceptible shake of her head. "Legal battles can get messy," she said. "Expensive, time-consuming. There might be questions about your mental capacity at your age, your ability to manage such a large estate. Questions about the validity of your marriage after so much time." There it was, the threat wrapped in reasonable-sounding concerns. I'd heard variations of this speech before, usually from contractors trying to lowball elderly customers who they thought were easy marks. "I'll think about it," I said, but I wasn't going to think about it at all. That evening, back at my hotel, I discovered someone had been through my room. Nothing taken, my important documents were locked up at Carter's office, but everything had been searched. Professional job, subtle, but I'd learned to notice things like that during my year in country. Drawers opened and closed just slightly off from how I'd left them. Clothes shifted in the closet, bathroom items rearranged by millimeters. I called Carter immediately, then the hotel manager. The manager was apologetic but thorough. He reviewed the key card entry logs with hotel security while I waited in the lobby. "Someone entered your room between 6:30 and 8 p.m., he said, frowning at his computer screen. "Used a key card, but it's not registered to any current guest. Inside job?" I asked, possibly. "Or someone with the right equipment and knowledge." He looked uncomfortable. "Mr. Davis, I'm moving you to a different room immediately." "No charge, of course." Carter arrived within 30 minutes, all business despite the late hour. She documented everything, took photos, had the hotel's security chief write up an official report. "This changes things," she said as we reviewed the incident report. "Someone's taking this very seriously. Seriously enough to commit breaking and entering. We need to be more careful. I'm arranging for you to move to a smaller hotel tomorrow, one that's harder to track. The estate will cover additional security measures if necessary." I thought about Sandra's companion, the way he'd positioned himself, the professional interest in our conversation. How hard would it be for someone to hire private investigators? Not hard at all if you have the money and motivation. Carter closed her notebook. "I'm also recommending we accelerate the probate timeline if possible. The longer this drags out, the more opportunities there are for complications." The documentation phase took most of the next week. Rebecca had been meticulous, apparently. She'd kept journals, financial records, even saved newspaper clippings from Austin that mentioned my construction company over the years. It was strange, reading evidence that she'd followed my life from a distance, but the most unsettling discovery was in her personal papers. In several entries from the late 1990s and early 2000s, she'd written about me by name, about regret, about wondering if I was happy, hoping I was happy, about how leaving me had been the worst decision of her life. Reading those entries in Carter's office, I held myself together through pure stubbornness and years of practice at not showing weakness. Rebecca had spent 50 years missing me while I'd spent 50 years missing her. Two people who'd loved each other, separated by fear and good intentions, both too proud or scared to reach across the silence. Sandra filed her formal contestation of the probate 2 days later. She claimed Rebecca had been mentally diminished in her final years, that I'd somehow influenced her from 1,200 miles away despite not knowing she was alive, and that Rebecca's true intention had been to provide for her caregiving daughter. It was a weak argument legally, but weak arguments can still cause expensive headaches. Then Sandra escalated beyond legal maneuvering. Patricia called me from San Antonio 3 days later, her voice shaking with controlled anger. "Dad, a man came to my house today asking questions about you." My blood went cold. "What kind of questions? About your mental health, your drinking habits, whether you seemed confused or easily manipulated?" He was polite about it, professional, but he was trying to get me to say you weren't capable of handling money. "What did you tell him?" "I told him my father was sharper than men half his age, and to get off my property before I called the police." Patricia's voice cracked slightly. "Dad, he left me a business card. Kevin Martinez, private investigator." I stayed calm on the phone, reassuring Patricia, but after I hung up, I sat in that hotel room feeling something cold and precise settle in my chest. Not anger exactly, more like the feeling you get when you're framing a house and realize someone's been using the wrong measurements on purpose. Everything looks right on the surface, but the foundation won't hold. Carter documented the witness intimidation incident, fired off a cease and desist letter to Sandra's attorney. The response was indignant. Kevin Martinez had acted independently, they claimed, and their client bore no responsibility for his inquiries. Carter promptly produced records showing Sandra had retained Martinez's investigation firm 3 weeks before Foster had even located me. "She's been planning this from the beginning," Carter said, reviewing the timeline. "She knew about the inheritance before you did." Sandra made one final attempt at direct intimidation. She called my cell phone that evening, abandoning all pretense of civilized negotiation. "You're making this very difficult for everyone involved," she said. "I'm just participating in a legal process," I replied. "You don't understand what I'm capable of. I have resources, connections, people who knew my mother when you weren't in the picture. Then present them at the hearing. That's what it's for." "She left you because you were controlling," Sandra said, her voice climbing toward hysteria, "because you were cold and demanding. My mother told me about your marriage, how suffocating it felt. I thought about Rebecca's journal entries, the careful way she'd written my name after 30 years of separation, the hope in her words that I'd found happiness. That wasn't the handwriting of a woman who'd felt controlled or suffocated. Ma'am, I think you should consult with your attorney before we continue this conversation. You're going to regret this decision," she said before ending the call. But she was wrong about who would be doing the regretting. The probate hearing was held in the Multnomah County Courthouse on a Thursday in late April. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected from television shows, wood-paneled and formal, with about 20 people scattered across the gallery. Judge Ronald Phillips presided, a man with steel-gray hair and the patient expression of someone who'd heard every variety of family greed disguised as righteousness. Sandra's case fell apart methodically. She'd hired a new attorney after her first one had reviewed the evidence. But the second lawyer looked uncomfortable from the moment he stood up. Sandra testified about Rebecca's supposed memory lapses and confusion, but when Carter cross-examined her, the story crumbled. No medical records supported her claims. No witnesses corroborated them. Dr. Ruth Taylor's written statement entered into evidence, confirmed Rebecca had been cognitively sharp right up until her final week. Then Sandra's attorney made his fatal mistake. He presented a letter supposedly written by Rebecca 4 years before her death, expressing doubts about leaving everything to a man who abandoned me 50 years ago. Carter requested 15 minutes to examine the document. She studied it with a magnifying glass, compared it to authenticated samples of Rebecca's handwriting, then approached the bench. Your Honor, I request this exhibit be submitted for forensic analysis. The handwriting shows significant inconsistencies with verified samples of Mrs. Davis's penmanship from the same time period. Sandra's face went white. The judge ordered the letter held pending expert examination. During a recess, I watched Sandra arguing in hushed, desperate tones with her attorney in the hallway. When court resumed, she took the stand again and made the mistake that ended her case. He doesn't deserve this, she said, pointing directly at me. He walked away from my mother 50 years ago and left her to die alone. She built everything herself, and now he wants to steal it. Judge Phillips's expression didn't change, but his voice carried a warning. Miss Coleman, please confine your remarks to questions asked by counsel. It's not fair, Sandra continued. Her composure completely shattered. I was there. I took care of her. I earned this. The forensic analysis took 8 days. The report was technical but decisive. The letter wasn't consistent with Rebecca's handwriting patterns, and the ink composition dated its creation to within the previous 6 months. Rebecca had been dead for over a year. Sandra's attorney withdrew from the case within 24 hours. When you submit forged evidence to a court of law, finding replacement counsel becomes a serious challenge. Judge Phillips ruled in my favor without lengthy deliberation. The estate of Rebecca Davis would pass to Harold Davis as the lawful beneficiary, according to the clearly expressed and competently made wishes of the deceased. $12 million after legal fees, about $11.5 million. I signed the papers with a steady hand, then called Patricia from Carter's office. Honey, quit your second job. Dad, I can't just, you've got 30 seconds to change your mind before I transfer the money anyway. For the first time in years, both of us laughed until we cried. 6 months later, I was living in a modest house outside Austin. Nothing fancy but well-built and fully paid for. Margaret had heard about my inheritance through the grapevine. News travels fast in a town where everybody knows everybody's business. According to Patricia, Gary had suddenly become very interested in exploring other relationship options. I never called Margaret. What I felt when I thought about her wasn't anger or bitterness, just a kind of mild indifference, like remembering a restaurant you'd eaten at once and hadn't particularly enjoyed. The criminal consequences for Sandra took their course through the Oregon legal system. Submitting fraudulent documents in probate proceedings carries serious penalties. Kevin Martinez disappeared from her life around the time the felony charges were filed. That's how a man of 73, with nothing but a pickup truck and a lifetime of hard work, ended up with everything that actually mattered. Not just the money, though financial security at my age is a blessing I don't take lightly, but the knowledge that when everything was stripped away, I held on to who I was. Margaret could laugh at my age and circumstances. Sandra could scheme and lie and forge documents. The world could put me in a Walmart parking lot with a rattling heater and people looking at me like I was something to be swept aside. None of it changed what I actually was. A man who keeps his word, honors his commitments, and doesn't quit when life gets hard. Some folks asked me what I'd do differently if I had it all to do over again. The answer's simple. I'd have been braver 50 years ago. I'd have found Rebecca somehow and told her we'd face whatever came together, medical bills and all, but you can't change the past. You can only decide what to do with the time you have left. At 73, I finally learned it's never too late to refuse the terms someone else sets for your life. Doesn't matter if you're facing divorce, bankruptcy, or sleeping in your truck. What matters is that you remember who you are when the world tries to tell you you're nobody. What would you have done in that parking lot? Would you have given up or kept fighting? I'd truly like to know. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you that dignity comes from within and can't be taken by others, then maybe you know someone else who needs to hear it. Because the truth is, we're all one bad break away from that parking lot. The question is, when that moment comes, will you remember who you really are?